So today we're going to be talking about the reproductive system. So the human life cycle. Your learning outcomes are to list the functions of the reproductive system in humans and describe the human life cycle and explain the role of mitosis and meiosis in this cycle. So the reproductive system produces gametes, such as egg and sperm. Females also protect and nourish the developing fetus until birth. So the functions of the reproductive organs or genitals have the following functions. The males produce sperm within testes, and females produce eggs within ovaries. Males transport sperm in ducts. Females transport eggs in uterine tubes to the uterus. The penis delivers sperm to the vagina, which also transports menstrual fluid to the exterior and acts as the birth canal. So the uterus allows the fertilized egg to develop within the body. After birth, the breast provides nourishment. The testes and ovaries also produce sex hormones. This brings about masculinization or feminization. So during puberty, that's the time period during which a child becomes a sexually competent adult. Sexual maturity typically occurs between the ages of 10 and 14 in girls and 12 and 16 in boys. After the completion of puberty, the individual is capable of producing children. So mitosis and meiosis. So remember, DNA holds all the genetic instructions, and this is distributed among 46 chromosomes within the nucleus of most body cells. So there's 23 pairs. Each pair contains one from both parents. So during most of the life cycle, cells divide by mitosis. Mitosis is duplication division. Each of the cells that exit mitosis has the same 46 chromosomes. Cells produce exact copies of themselves. Mitosis is used for growth and repair of damaged tissues. So cell division for the purposes of reproduction is called meiosis and takes place only in the testes during sperm production and ovaries during egg production. So this is called reduction division. So the chromosome number is reduced from 46 to 23, which we call diploid to haploid. And this requires two successive divisions called meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And this forms gametes or sex cells and also introduces genetic variation. So following meiosis, the haploid cells develop into either sperm in males or eggs in females, and sperm are much smaller than eggs, and the zygote is formed by fusing the egg and sperm. And because they each have 23 chromosomes, the zygote has 46. So without meiosis, the chromosome number in each generation would double, and cells would no longer be able to function. Okay, so the male reproductive system, your learning outcomes are to identify the structures of the male reproductive system and provide a function for each, describe the location and stages of spermatogenesis, and summarize how hormones regulate the male reproductive system. So the male reproductive system contains the testes, which are the male gonads, which is the primary sex organ. The scrotum is the sac that contains the paired testes, the epididymis, where sperm matures, and the vas deferens, where it passes into the abdominal cavity, where it passes sperm into the ejaculatory duct, then the urethra. Okay, so that's summarized here. So we have the testes, which produce sperm and sex hormones, the epididymis, ducts where sperm mature and some sperm are stored, the vas deferentia, which conduct and store sperm, the seminal vesicles, which contribute nutrients and fluid to semen, the prostate gland, which contributes fluid to semen, the urethra, which conducts sperm, the bulbourethral glands, which contribute mucus containing fluid to semen, and the penis, which is the organ of sexual intercourse. So during ejaculation, sperm leave the penis in a fluid called semen, produced by two seminal vesicles, the prostate gland and the two bulbourethral glands. The prostate gland surrounds the urethra just below the bladder. So seminal fluid is slightly basic, pH about 7.5, contains the sugar fructose, which serves as an energy source, contains prostaglandins, which causes the uterus to contract to propel the sperm toward the egg. So the penis is a spongy erectile tissue that extends through the shaft, and during sexual arousal, autonomic nerves release nitric oxide, and then cyclic GMP causes smooth muscle of incoming arterial walls to relax, erectile tissues filled with blood. So erectile dysfunction or impotency is inability to achieve or maintain an erection, may be caused by poor blood flow, certain medications, and many illnesses. Medications inhibit the enzyme that breaks down cGMP. So the male orgasm, as sexual stimulation intensifies, sperm enters the urethra from each vas deferens, and semen is secreted from the 3 glands. Once seminal fluid is in the urethra, rhythmic muscle contractions expel it from the penis. And so the orgasm is considered a physiological and psychological sensation that occurs at the climax of sexual stimulation. So after that, there's a refractory period, a period of time during which stimulation does not bring about an erection, and this increases with age. There may be 400 million sperm and the 3.5 milliliters of semen expelled during ejaculation. Fertilization can still take place if the sperm count is much lower than this. Okay, so the testes begin development in the abdominal cavity and descend into the scrotum the last 2 months of fetal development. If the testes do not descend, sterility, the inability to produce offspring, usually follows. Okay, so the seminiferous tubules, the testes have compartments called lobules, each of which contains seminiferous tubules. So spermatogenesis is the production of sperm, occurs in the seminiferous tubules. Spermatogonia divide to produce primary spermatocytes, which undergo meiosis I to produce secondary spermatocytes. So sperm or spermatozoa have 3 parts: the head, the middle piece, and the tail. The head contains a nucleus covered by the acrosome, which contains enzymes needed to penetrate the egg. Okay, so that's shown here, the acrosome. So interstitial cells produce the male sex hormones or androgens. The most important of the androgens is testosterone, and this lie between the seminiferous tubules. So hormone regulation in males. So like I said, testosterone is the main sex hormone in males. It's essential for normal development and functioning of male sex organs, and brings about and maintains the male secondary sex characteristics that develop at puberty. So males are generally taller than females. They have broad shoulders, longer legs relative to trunk length, and have deeper voices due to a larger larynx with longer vocal cords. Okay, so the female reproductive system. So your learning outcomes are to identify the structures of the female reproductive system and provide a function for each. So there's the ovaries, the female gonads. It lies in the shallow depressions on each side, one in each side of the upper pelvic cavity. It produces eggs, also called ova. It produces the female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. So the genital tract, the uterine tubes or the oviducts, fallopian tubes, extend from the uterus to the ovaries, are not attached to the ovaries. They have finger-like projections called fimbriae. After ovulation, the fimbriae sweep the egg into a uterine tube. So an egg lives approximately 6 to 24 hours. Fertilization usually takes place in the uterine tube. An embryo implants after several days and embeds in the uterine lining. So the uterus is a thick-walled muscular organ. The uterine tubes join the uterus at its upper end. At its lower end, the cervix enters the vagina. Cancer of the cervix is a common form of cancer in women. So a Pap test is the removal of a few cells from the cervix for microscopic examination. Okay, so the female reproductive organs, we have the ovaries, which produce eggs and sex hormones, the uterine tubes, which conduct eggs, location of fertilization. We have the uterus, which houses developing fetus, the cervix, which contains opening to uterus, and the vagina, which receives penis during sexual intercourse and serves as birth canal and as an exit for menstrual flow. So the uterus, the endometrium, The lining of the uterus supplies nutrients needed for embryonic and fetal development. Has 2 layers, a functional layer that is shed during each menstrual period, and a basal layer of reproducing cells. The functional layer varies in thickness according to a monthly cycle called the uterine cycle. Okay, so the vagina its mucosal lining is folded and can stretch. It's important during sexual intercourse and birth and allows menstrual flow to exit. So external genitals, we have the vulva, which is external genitals of the female. We have the labia majora, which is a large hair-covered folds of skin. The mons pubis, a fatty prominence overlying the pubic bones, and it's covered in pubic hair. Okay, so orgasm in females, mucus secreting glands beneath the labia minora to provide lubrication for entry of the penis. The extremely sensitive clitoris can swell in 2 or 3 times its usual size. Okay, so we'll end there today, and we'll finish this up on Thursday. Are there any questions before we conclude today?
No.
Okay, I'll catch you guys later.